Get it, Steve. Get it. All right. Welcome to another wrestling podcast. This is episode 293. I'm Credo.
And I am your most professional podcaster, JB.
He is the most professionalist guy I know.
That's not even work.
He's got paper and a pen, man. No. Man, what a weekend, brother. What a weekend. You know, we're recapping a massive weekend in pro wrestling, guys, this weekend from the big event.
Yep.
Wrestling with Character, Fight Factory's No Thanksgiving, on top of John Cena's last Raw, which happened in New York City, brother. And you might not be able to see us, but they can hear us. Jonathan, man, you were there live. What was it like, man? This is the last Raw.
Yeah, it was electric. I mean, I don't know if have you been to the Garden?
I have.
Okay,
only a few times, and it was for wrestling each time.
Yeah, I mean, from walking off of like getting out at Penn Station and then walking upstairs, basically, like it start to finish, just crazy energy. But yeah, it's a little bittersweet, obviously. Like, you know, we've been hearing about it for a while. Okay, yeah. Cena's done, he's wrapping up, whatever. But to be there to hear, okay, it's his last Raw, it's his last time in New York, it's his last time at the Garden, like, you know, those kind of hit you right in the feels. So I know we've got a lot to go over, but yeah.
It's one of those things, though, you don't really get to see often, because sometimes you don't know if this is the last time you're ever going to see this guy. Like, sometimes they don't even tell you. Sometimes that's it. And then you have to remember the last time it was. So it's nice that he gets to go out on his own terms in a way. Yeah. You know, gets to put on this little tour, even though the beginning of the tour wasn't maybe the best. Sure. But, you know, I don't know. I think it's really cool to see, especially in this day and age with somebody of Cena's caliber. Yeah. You know, he's definitely one of those top names that'll live on forever. And for him to be having a goodbye or farewell tour, it's cool, man. You got to experience it. Right down the street, too, man. It's right down. We're surrounded by wrestling, man. There was a lot of wrestling, though, happening this weekend. But before we get to that, I want to say we're going to have Joe Mattarazzo in a little bit joining us from the Final Countdown on Boston's Fastest 2 Hours of Radio. He'll be on in a little bit. But, man, we also, Sunday, we went to Wrestling with Character.
Sure.
It was a great time. Cardona, man, running it out there. And a few other guys. Sorry, I can't remember the names right now. But, you know, it was a great time. That was our first time in Connecticut for that show.
And that's what's, like, so great about professional wrestling. Obviously, I went to Madison Square Garden yesterday, and then I was at this show, Wrestling with Character, with you on Sunday. And, you know, there are these moments at both shows that are just like they cement why I've liked professional wrestling for, you know, so long. Like the storylines and the, you know, the characters and all that. So to see what Kurt's doing there, it's really amazing. I believe he said he has another show coming up in December.
Yeah, we'll have to get him on. Maybe next week, Kurt, if you're listening, brother. We'll get you on next week in the studio. No, it was a great time. You know, I think it's geared more towards family. Like, sure. Little kids, maybe too. You know, older kids too. I think it was all around great night pro wrestling for them. Sold out arena in Connecticut.
Meriden.
Meriden. Our first time out there, but they had a little fan fest out there. You saw the Mountie.
Yep.
We saw Sydney Akeem out there. Dijak. Brian Myers was out there hanging out too.
Jake the Snake and his wife Cheryl and
a snake.
An actual snake.
Actual snake, which, no spoiler alert, but he might have chased the Mountie out of town with that. Yeah. But that's cool, man. You get to see some legends, some people happening in Connecticut, not too far from us, like a little hour-ish ride.
Sure.
So the East Coast is happening, man. But we got to speak to some people. We're going to actually add a few of our little interviews that we did online. But we did speak to Richard Holiday.
Absolutely.
Who was also there, who fought Karrion Kross. Killer Kross, brother. What a match.
Yeah.
But let's hear. We have a video of you right now talking with Richard Holiday. If we can roll the videotape.
All right, everybody. We are here with... I mean, it's no secret what I think about this guy, but the most marketable Richard Holiday.
Well, what do you think about it?
I mean, already the GOAT. That's undisputed GOAT.
I knew. I just wanted to hear it again.
Okay, all right. So we're here, wrestling with character. Little bit of, they keep trying to throw roadblocks your way. Today, apparently you can't use your, the signature move. So, what are your thoughts about management doing that?
And what are we really doing when we do that, huh? There's a whole line of people here who are paying their hard-earned money to see the most over, talked about, devastating, original, innovative, imaginative move in all of professional wrestling, and that is my signature move. What are they mad? Are they mad that I marketed a move that has shocked the airwaves of professional wrestling? That's not my fault. And you're taking away a moment from each and every one of these hard-earned, paying people.
I've heard it already. I've heard people talking about it.
It's rubbish. It's blasphemy. But understand this, they don't call me the Fed Killer because I invented a move. They call me the Fed Killer because I'm the best. I'm the best on the independents. That is a stone cold fact. It's indisputable, and I refuse to hear anything otherwise. So Killer Cross, go write another book. Actually, the next book that you write, I want it to be about the day that you saw Richard Holiday in Meriden, Connecticut, and he beat you without using his signature move. I think that would be a New York Times bestseller.
Yes.
Don't you think?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, again, not that you don't know this already, one of the best years in professional wrestling history for you.
Yeah.
You've done a lot, ACW champion, all of these things, all these accolades. Is there one thing that stands out the most to you for what you've done so far?
I think my year speaks for itself. You know, I think by far, I don't think that there is one person on the independents who is unsigned, who has never been to the promised land. Anybody, you know, all the little people, who, like the people with the Fed Killer who I've dismantled on the indies, they don't count, okay? Unsigned, never been there. Who's better than me? I honestly want somebody to come up to me and give me an honest example. Because it's not going to resonate. It's not going to hit. It's not going to make sense. I'm number one. My year speaks for itself. It gets better and better. I go to bed great. I wake up a little bit greater. It's a rinse and repeat cycle for me. It happens all the time. I woke up this morning feeling absolutely fantastic. This guy's listening to my interview. He's listening. He knows how good I am now. He's going to end up crossing over here and buying my merch.
Put the camera on me. He's the best.
Put the camera on him.
Most marketable wrestler in the business right now.
Yes, I am. Camera back on me. It's enough screen time for him. I'm the best. Okay? They could all find out later. If they don't know, they will know.
So a little fantasy booking for me here.
Fantasy book, go
They were
ahead.
talking about Cena's last match.
Yeah.
You said some people who don't work here. I mean, I know you can't say it, but if it's on my vision board, that's what I'm seeing. We saw what's his name, Ryder,
Yeah.
whatever. He showed up, didn't get too far.
Matt Ryder, Zach Cardona.
Yeah. So, is that something that you could see yourself, walking in tomorrow, winning that tournament, taking on Cena?
Listen, at the end of the day, we've seen John Cena versus CM Punk. We've seen John Cena versus The Rock. We've seen John Cena versus AJ Styles. We're not going to see John Cena versus Matt Cardona because he lost. But my God, you want to sell out an arena? You want to put something on the marquee that people have never seen before? John Cena versus Richard Holiday?
I'm sold already. But,
God.
So, we're winding down 2025 into 2026. What will everybody be saying in 2026 about Richard Holiday?
I think in 2026, actually I know, the people who already know how great I am will just continue singing the praise. The people who are short to the party or late to the party, they're going to say, holy cow. It took me until 2026 to realize that this guy is really that damn good. And then they can feel stupid. I don't know, write me an apology letter or buy my merch or whatever the case may be. At the end of the day, I just say, give me my flowers. I will get my flowers. I get my flowers each and every day, even if I have to give them to myself.
Well, where can people, where can people who are watching this pick up this card?
Listen, they can buy it on Pro Wrestling Tees. The best way is to do it in person because you get to meet the living legend himself. Find a show, I'm booked and busy. Who's more booked than me? I don't know. But I'm all over the country, I'm all over the world, and you can buy my merch there.
All right, well, I don't want to take up any more of your time. I appreciate it, and onward and upward.
Onward and upward, that's it.
Wow, man. Richard Holiday, guys, if you don't know him, you should know him, right? Definitely had one hell of a year here in 2025, man.
I mean, I feel like that you weren't on the holiday train, and I don't know why, but I think you're getting there.
I'm getting there, man. I'm definitely getting there.
Was it the mustache?
I think so, maybe.
Okay.
But no. I mean, if you look at Richard Holiday, if some of you probably got to know him last year at the Poughkeepsie Rumble, what a year he's had. Main eventing to most recently at Mischief Night, where it was for the two of the some names we're going to talk about later on that were actually on WWE this weekend too. But there's a lot of stuff that was happening this weekend too, on top of Wrestling with Character. But once again, shout out to them. Shout out to Kurt Adonis. Them guys, if you're in the Connecticut area, check them out. We'll probably be talking to Kurt soon. But you were at some event this weekend too.
Making towns.
It wasn't a little event. You went to a big event.
Big event.
I have not been. I don't think I've been to any big event ever.
Sure.
But I got kids, I have no money. But what did you do, man? What was going on? Who was there? Who was the best to see this weekend?
Sure. So this is my third time of going to the big event, and it's an amazing fan fest for wrestling that brings in huge names. I go, believe it or not, because my wife, shout out at Bonker Dolls, she was actually vending. She makes stickers and T-shirts and wrestling mugs and all that stuff. So she was there, and I kind of helped set up, and then I just kind of go on my own field trips and stuff. So they had Sting was there. It was his last New York appearance in face paint. Goldberg was there. Carmella, Big Show, AJ Lee was there. Nick Nemeth, who was there for a reason that we would find out later. But I got to meet an old favorite of mine back in the day. Brad Maddox was there.
Yeah,
he doesn't come around a lot anymore. Met Chris Van Vliet, which was a super nice guy. Friend of the show, Mr. Pop and Twist was there.
Mr. Pop and Twist.
Making balloons and stuff. I got to meet Isla Dawn, Gigi Dolan. Just so many people that were there. And a lot of people that we've met. Machoverse was there. Nice. He was still kind of not feeling great, but he was there. Shout out to Machoverse. But yeah, it's always great. We saw the Righteous, a lot of talent that we've been seeing around here. But it's just really nice because it's its own thing. It's like Comic-Con. A lot of people cosplay, and I mean, I would definitely suggest going to a show. I believe the next one's in March of 2026. It's in Long Island, so it's a little I think 65 miles from me to there, and it took me 2.5 hours to get out there.
That's like
a little rough, but I do want to also shout out Mackenzie Morgan. Yeah. So right where Mary, my wife's booth was, we got to see, and talk to other people. And Mackenzie Morgan, a wrestler based out of Memphis right now. And I've followed now, hopefully get her on the show. But she's a big talent, maybe an up-and-comer that you're going to be seeing soon. Nice. So that's awesome. And then the last thing I want to say is that these kind of fan fests are great because it allows you to make memories. And believe it or not, referee Jimmy Corderas was there. And as I was walking around the big event, I saw somebody that looked familiar. Yeah. And if you were paying attention to WWE back in circa 2015 era, when we were going up to Albany for the NXT shows and stuff, there was an announcer for NXT going by the name of Kyle Edwards at the time. But his real name's Arda O'Call. He's on ESPN, and I saw him. I thought it was him, and so I went through my phone and I found a picture of him and I back, 10 years ago. Yeah. And I went up and we had this little serendipitous moment where we were talking, and it was just really nice. He's a super nice guy, and so big shout out to Arda as well. Nice. And that's what it's all about. It's just meeting people and hanging out. And so again, I would highly suggest going to a big event if you're around. They usually do them spring and fall, so you have two chances. So maybe we'll get you We'll get you there.
I know. I just don't want the lonely Virgil table of like, hey, come on, check me out, and I'm a nobody. No, could you imagine if they had a card there? Then they need a wrestling show at the big event.
They did. They had it
during
that night. So
with
House
everybody
of
that you
Glory.
could meet. Oh,
yeah.
House
So
of Glory. Okay.
Sasha or Mercedes won her 13th title that night. I think friend of the show Greg was at that. He was helping out
Greg
for that event.
Cameraman. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the first time they ever did it. So it was kind of they finished the fan fest and everybody broke down, and then they had a ring set up and they brought everybody in there and.
Nice.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Very cool, man. We'll definitely hit it up next year. We missed other things happening this weekend. Shout out to Fight Factory.
Yep.
They had their No Thanksgiving pay-per-view event.
Yep.
But I had so much going on Saturday, man. I couldn't make it down. It sucks because there's only so many things you could do in a weekend, right? And we were topping it off as it was. But, shout out to them. A lot of things happened over there with them. I heard they had a great show. They have a new champion over there, Joey Janela.
Yep.
Defeated Danny Moff with maybe some interference or whatnot. But we're looking to be new Fight Factory tag team champions.
Yeah.
But lo and behold, sent to slaughter, man. These guys, man, fight forever. They need the shirt "Fight Forever" because this is they've made 2025 the year, I think, of the Now and Sent to Slaughter. They definitely need kind of like a monument engraved with what these guys have been going through. But I've heard all good things about Fight Factory and No Thanksgiving, so it was really good. But on top of that, man, we have a special guest with us today, all the way from Boston. He's been on the line.
It's Boston.
Boston. I don't have the accent, but Joe Mattarazzo from Boston's fastest 2 hours in radio. He's one half of the Final Countdown, streaming out of WMEX in Boston. Joe, how's it going?
Doing great, guys. Thanks for having me on. I can't believe I'm on here with Steve and JB. This is dynamite.
This is it. Joe, man, I've come to know you through the past year. Working at ACW, we've met, we've talked. We haven't had a formal sit-down meet and greet, but we've talked a bunch. We've seen each other throughout the whole year. I've been a guest on your radio show. One heck of a year, man. One heck of a year we've been having here, and it's great to have you finally on talking with us. We'll have to get you in the studio next time, though. We'll fly you out or drive you to Boston. We're only a few hours drive.
Couple hours.
We'll bring you in here next time, man. But thanks so much for hanging out tonight.
No, this is great, guys. I really, really appreciate it. Having you on our show, that was dynamite. Everything you bring to the independent scene and just how important it really is to this business. And like you were talking about, JB, you just went to the Garden. Before that, you were at a Votech. You know what I mean? It's sold out for wrestling with character, right? No Thanksgiving. I mean, there's so many. It's so hot right now, this industry. There's so much to talk about. And like you said, you only got a week. You know what I mean? In a week, you got to wrap it all up in a couple-hour show. It's damn near impossible.
Well, and what's so crazy is the area that you're in, the area that we're in, have traditionally been hotbeds for pro wrestling. And we know last week they had Cena's last, Boston match. Were you a part of that at all, or do you know anybody that went to that? What were people talking about Cena's last match there in Boston?
So we talked about it last week. We had my son, who does the show with me, Nick. We're the only father-son team on the radio that actually do a show together. I was going to ask, but anyway, he ended up going. He was able to go to the show. He made it there, so he saw it. I got to stay at home, so I got to see it, what everybody else would see, like on television, and that double pop, the music hits, and then he appears, and that where they blow the roof off was amazing. I will say, New York gave us a run for the money with the cheering and the pop, and I kind of like the shirts better too. The green's cool with the Celtics and all where we are, but the blue, I mean, that's a good looking shirt. I'm sorry.
No, it's crazy, man. Because like we're just talking to where the beginning of this year, it started off with a bang with a Cena heel turn. Didn't quite go the way we thought it was going to go, and things happened. But it's finally, it's almost bittersweet that we're at this point right now. We're less than a month away now of his final match. So I was just telling him before too. It's great to see a guy like this go out kind of the way he wants to, and not just like being injured in a match and he never gets to step foot in the ring again, or not telling anybody. And like I'm glad with his caliber name, he's had this year to kind of like say goodbye to the ring.
And putting the tournament together, I think, was a stroke of genius.
Yep.
I absolutely love it because it keeps you guessing. Nobody's anticipating anything yet, and you're trying to put it together. They haven't shown any brackets, which I love. So now you don't know who's going to be facing who. Right after the heel turn, I actually had John Cena Sr. on. I had John Cena's dad on, and he's loving every second of this. You know, I mean, he was at the Garden signing $1 million bills with his name, with his picture on them, because he's still Johnny Fabulous at 80 years old. That man will never stop. He's an absolute national treasure, that guy. But you're right. He's going to go out his way. I mean, this was it would have been the most perfect to have the last match in Boston. It didn't work out that way. But the last Raw in Boston was amazing. The last Raw in the Garden, well, they're both gardens. You had the TD Garden and you had Madison Square Garden. I mean, it's just, that's the way to go out.
Well, and if you're new to the show and you're hearing what we're saying and talking about, obviously we love talking about wrestling, but I want to say our record's pretty spotless right now. So we had Nick Nemeth on earlier this year, and it was right when this idea of this tournament started, or something along those lines. We were talking about, Cena's last opponent, and we brought up his name. I don't want to say that we put that out there in the world and it happened, but it was good. He had a pretty big history, and I think that's what's really cool about the fact that they had not only Zack Ryder but Dolph Ziggler on. It was nods to his past opponents and stuff. So I will say that being there at the Garden last night, you could hear it on TV because I've watched clips since then, but the legitimate roar from that audience whenever he opened the show. I was also there in 2008 whenever he returned from injury at the Royal Rumble, and both of those rivaled each other. And I think that show last night and last week's show as well, Raw wise, those are kind of blueprints of what I would like to see going forward. I think that I don't want to say that they've rested on their laurels for a while. They were like, okay, well, people are buying, we're selling out anyway, whatever. But those shows last night and last Monday in Boston, I think, are the reason why people really like wrestling. And so sign me up for about 50 more of those kind of episodes for sure.
So you said you've had Nick Nemeth on, Matt Cardona.
Yep.
Look where they ended up. I am going to 100% guarantee I will not be in this tournament.
I'm saying this is
never, it's not going to happen.
Never say never.
Right? That's only what somebody would say if they were in it. They're only trying to throw
Come on, Joe. Come on.
But Joe, man, you've been in the wrestling business for a while now too. You've reffed at an ACW show, and you've reffed before. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got into this crazy world of pro wrestling?
Yeah, it's a crazy story. Grew up as a fan, right? Absolutely loved it. Grew up watching. I'm a bit older than you. I've had 31 years in the industry now. So I grew up watching the Von Erichs. Kevin Von Erich was actually my first match I ever saw was him against Ric Flair. And that as a kid. So growing up, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to get involved somehow. Had no idea that 20 minutes away from where I lived, Killer Kowalski had his school. Because it was so guarded back then. Yeah. So, I would have made the trip. Ended up working with Kevin Sullivan's, his sister-in-law, who went to Kevin. Kevin told me to go up to the Hart Foundation, up to the dungeon, up at the Hart family. And I had to bring $3,000 with me. Well, he might as well have asked me for $3 million at that time. I remember going to my father, who did not like me watching wrestling. And I asked him to borrow $3,000. He asked me what it was for. When I told him what it was for, I woke up about 2 weeks later on the floor. It didn't go over well. So I knew at that point I had to find my own way in. And lo and behold, we had a radio station up here in Boston called WAAF. They aren't around anymore, but they were a big station here. And they were giving away tickets. They used to advertise on there all the time. So I won a pair of tickets to the Low Memorial Auditorium. And at that time, this is when they used to tape 4 weeks of TV.
Sure.
And they were taping Superstars. So I won tickets. And what they said was at the end of the week, all the ticket holders were going to be picked and someone was going to be a guest ring announcer for the night. So the whole week goes, I'm waiting. Here we are, the Friday. I listen to the show. I'm dying to hear. They don't announce the winner. I'm going, you got to be kidding me. I'm like, I'm waiting all this. So back then, you picked up your phone and you dialed the number, right? And that's how you had to get in touch with it and get the busy signal, keep dialing. And I got through. And that show was ending and the next show was coming in. The producer grabbed it and I said, you guys didn't announce the winner. And he went, oh my God, we didn't do it. And he yells over to the host, Liz Wilde. And she said, does he have tickets? And I go, yeah, I had tickets. And he goes, do you want it?
Wow.
That's how it happened.
Wow.
So I ended up going to the Low Memorial Auditorium. I announced Earthquake against Eric Cody. It was an enhancement match. They said my name 100 times. I was up there on the Tron and everything. And Vince McMahon was doing the commentary back then with Jerry Lawler. Put me over through the moon. I walked out of there, and as I walked back through the curtain after the match, Bret Hart was there, grabbed me, and said he gave me that. That took guts, kid. One of those, classic Bret Hart things. And a couple of the other guys saw me on the way out. And a couple of the local guys that were working the show as enhancement talents grabbed my number. And next thing you know, I started getting a few calls to come do ring announcing. Wow. And the ring announcing turned into helping out anywhere I could. And I started doing that. And I got hooked up with Matt and Kyle Storm down in Rhode Island. I started working and really started to learn what it was to be a part of the business. I had no clue what I was doing at that time. And of course, I started in a WWF ring. And that's where I got my start, was on TV. My very first time stepping in a ring was on television. Wow. So I'm like, well, how bad can it be? Well, the next time I stepped into a ring, it was in the middle of a street during a block party. And they didn't even have aprons. They had caution tape around the ring just to keep it so you couldn't see. It was a different experience, a little humbling at that time, but great bunch of guys that I met and learned from. Ended up working for Mike Sparta, and anybody who knew Mike Sparta back in the day probably knew the name. Mike would bring in a lot of talent. His brother Freddie was a referee for the WWE back in the day, and so they bring talent in and run it through there. Well, Dangerous Danny Davis was there, and Danny took a liking to me, took me under his wing. They needed a referee, and he started guiding me and teaching me. It was not an easy thing to go through. It's not like today when you go in there and everybody's friendly and all. You got screamed at and yelled at and, kicked and hit and whacked, and they made sure you knew what you were doing. But Danny, between him and then I met Paul Richard, who was the enforcer referee for ECW and ended up becoming the Northeast promoter for ECW up in the Boston market. He took me under his wing too and started teaching me everything that happened in the back and what to do there. From there, I met Sheldon Goldberg from New England Championship Wrestling, and Sheldon took me out of the ring and put me behind the microphone, and I started doing color commentary. And the people that I got to work with between Mike Sparta and Mike, I met with all the style, worked with everyone from Eddie Guerrero to, Dr. Tom. I can't even tell you how many matches I did with Chris Candido and, Big Dick Dudley, Sabu. I worked with all the ECW guys. It was an amazing time. Balls Mahoney. The stories I have probably couldn't be. I got to let the statute of limitations run out before I start really talking about them. But we had a great time. It was awesome. When I started doing the commentary with Sheldon, I started learning this is the new generation. He didn't really bring in stars so much as he worked more on the homegrown. So guys like Eddie Edwards came out of there. Guys like Ivar came out of there. I actually did color commentary on Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné's very first match.
Wow.
So the very first match she ever had, her debut, I got to do commentary on it. And I saw then, this girl's got it. She had a star quality all over the place. And when she just won her 13th title.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right? So, but, getting to work with guys like the Highlanders and the Haas brothers and so many people from our area. The Northeast is flooded with talent.
Yeah.
Talent. But this is where I met guys like Kurt Adonis. I met guys like the Dow. and we're talking a 20-year relationship with guys like the Now, and they came all the way up here to work for Mike Sparta at the time. And then as I'm moving forward, of course, a few years go by. I can't do what I used to do in the ring anymore. Getting to that point, what can I do? I can still talk as long as nobody breaks my jaw like Danny Moffat wants to, evidently. Yep. But we'll keep shucking and jiving away from that. But I figured, you know what? Let's see. There's so much to talk about with pro wrestling, and it's such a hot commodity right now. Made a pitch to a guy at a radio station, took a chance on me, and we're in our second year, coming up on our anniversary in February. Went from 1 hour a week now to 2 hours, the fastest 2 hours of radio, WMEX. Shout out to, it's funny because, of course, we talk about Dave LaGreca being the big guru when it comes to radio here in pro wrestling. Mm-hmm. The owner of my station is Tony LaGreca. There's a somewhere down the line there's a relation there, but why wouldn't I go to a LaGreca to get on, right?
That's great.
It's worked out good, and my son and I we've interviewed everyone. I got to interview Kevin Von Erich, which to me this is the first guy I ever watched on television. So I got to do that. I hooked back up with the Now. This was back a year ago, May. So this was before ACW even became a thing. And I had them on the show. They had, what they had just done? They had just wrestled the Briscoes just before, it was during the, the Crockett Cup in the NWA. So they had their tournament there. So I was hoping to get them on again and see if we could get them to get back in the cup. But they didn't. Little did I know they had this little thing coming up called ACW, Awesome Championship Wrestling. And I knew when I heard when it was going to be, they came on and explained. I said I had to be a part of that. I knew I had to get up there. So there's not even family I'd drive that long for. But for them, they are family to me. So.
No, that's awesome. I mean, that's a story, man. You definitely have to write a book on that one. Definitely need more chapters.
It's going.
No,
it's going. I did write a book too, though. I actually wrote the only professional wrestling rule book that's ever been in print.
That's awesome.
That's not a gimmick, which makes it a gimmick.
No, perfect.
So, and what's his name? Seth Turner actually has a copy of it at the International Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Wow, that's
so
awesome.
He's got it at the Hall of Fame now too.
Very cool.
So,
So go back to your the radio station a little bit. So this is your second year anniversary coming up, right?
Yeah.
And you've been doing it with your son too. Tell us, how's that been like? Because I get to sit across from this guy. He's not my son, though. But just to do it with your son, I feel like that has to feel special inside, to at least being able to do this kind of show with family, right?
Yeah, he's been around the locker room since he was like 2. So, I mean, to him, he kind of grew up knowing the business and kind of seeing it. And the cool part is it's something that we watched it anyway. We will watch it. We'd talk about it. We'd during the pay-per-views of PLEs, he'd have his friends come over, and because they all knew that, I was involved. So I'd hold court with the kids and, just kind of let them know what was happening and why things were happening. I'd get them all going. And then I said, you know what? I said, he watches the matches and the shows differently than I do. Because you get the two demographics, right? Yeah. He's 23 years old. I'm 55 years old. So I'm looking at it and I'm going, you know what? His perspective is very important as to what the temperature of this business is right now. So I wanted to pull that out of it. And then what I see and how I was learned, because I was, like I said, I learned from guys like Dangerous Danny Davis, Dr. Tom Pritchard. You name these guys. I was in there listening to these guys and taking it like a sponge from everybody to figure out how this works and why. And so I've learned just as much from him as he has from me. But having him on from the first time that he came on, and he was so nervous. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, we're just having a conversation, just like this, right?
Yep.
And now he could run the show himself. He's amazingly articulate when it comes to how he explains what it is that he sees. He's excellent. He's really good for his age. He's miles ahead. And he went to the Elite Pro Wrestling Training Center, which is a WWEID school, the only one in the Northeast, up in Concord, New Hampshire. Went for a tryout. And he got picked, and he got in there and got a contract to be in there. He was in there for a couple months, working out, doing his thing, and then life gets in the way. He had to put pause on the wrestling because, real life. Just got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
But his passion never left the business, that's for sure. But yeah, he's. I'm pretty proud. It's pretty cool to have him there. I don't think there's anybody I could. Our chemistry comes out sometimes as father and son. So, it's still. I'm still right no matter what. So.
No, it's great. No, it's great. Don't give up on your passions because, like I would have loved to have been a wrestler, but I can't. So that's why I love doing the stuff that I do because that's my ring, right? So it's like if you can't do what you really want to do, you could still do it in another form and fashion, right? So you can still commentate, you can still, have a radio show out there. So that's great, though. I think this is the first Boston-New York alliance. Well, you're in New York now.
New York, yeah.
So it's like the first Boston-New York alliance we got going on here because, growing up, it was a lot of the Yankees versus Boston. So we had, we had a little war, but I think wrestling brings us all together, and that's what I've loved about the past year. Right now, companies from Fight Factory, we're talking wrestling with character, ACW, all of them. It's nice to be able to go to all these different shows, and it's all like one big family. Like we love seeing everybody, and seeing what you guys do. We're gonna have to come to Boston one night. You're gonna have to show us around Boston, Joe, and tell us what we're missing. I've only been there a few times in my life. I've like a few little visits and went to Cheers and all that, but haven't gone to too much other stuff. So we need the Boston tour from somebody who lives in Boston. But there's a lot of other stuff that happened this week too, man. We got to get into this because there's some big topics, and we definitely need to hear your point of view out of too, Joe. The biggest thing, though, I think one of the things that shocked everybody was Mike Santana losing the TNA championship. Yeah. I have to state that he won it. And then his first show was ACW with the championship on it, and they didn't do any tapings in between then, so they were off for like a few weeks, and then the first show back within, was it 45 or 54? I don't want to give him too much credit, but that amount of time loses it to Kazarian, and in my head I'm like, he either A, he killed somebody and they got to get rid of he killed, or B, WWE really wants him and was like, who'd you piss off or what did you do? Because there was such a story behind him winning it to where everybody thought he should have won it. Was it at the MSG show or whatever it was? It was on NXT. It didn't happen, and then fast forward, they push it to another pay-per-view. Finally wins it. But to lose it, and
Bound for Glory, that was in Boston. That was in Lowell, Mass. I was there, and the night that he won it.
No, and from that to where he had no title defenses.
Nope.
Man, why? That's what I know is why. Why would you do this to this guy to where it's not needed? And the only thing I can think of is like, they gave John Cena the Intercontinental Championship, so they wanted to call Kazarian a Grand Slam champion too. And if that was the reason. That was really bad. I know, Jonathan, man, what did you think about this? Because people are fuming about this.
I mean, obviously, again, it's the pro wrestling business. We can speculate all we want. I would assume that his time is going to come back, especially, the same thing happened with R-Truth. They got rid of him, and then the fans demanded it, and then he came back. So, I mean, there is a world that we live in where Santana gets it back soon, and there's a story behind that, but. Yeah, I mean, I'm never big on just let's give somebody a belt, let's have them lose it, let's, whatever. I like long-term storytelling, and this ain't it. So I'm hoping for the best. Santana, obviously a great wrestler and somebody who I think we're just starting to see what he can do in the business. Yeah. And so,
he's reinvented himself too this year. Like the past, from outside of AEW to coming into TNA, he kind of found himself and was kind of rebuilding. And I think he even posted that he was 1,000 days or 100. I forget what it was, something sober. Yeah. Forgive me, I forget the exact date, but he posted the night before. And then I think it was also the anniversary of Eddie Guerrero winning the championship or something like that. Yeah. He posted about that too. Joe, man, what do you think? Because this is, I don't know. I feel like stuff like this is kind of like, I get and I can kind of see what they would probably want to do with it, but I don't think it was the right call. I don't know. What do you think?
I think they missed the boat when they didn't win it in New York, number one. I think that was the most important miss that they swung at and completely miffed on that one. Winning it in Lowell, Massachusetts, while I was there and we were able to experience that, it was fantastic. The place was into it. The way that he presented the belt to his daughter, the everything around that story was a perfect story. It was excellent. It was beautiful. There wasn't a dry eye in the place. Anybody that has kids, especially if you have a daughter, my God, I mean, basically, she saved his life, and he was presenting that title that was for her. Yeah. And maybe that's where the story goes. Maybe that was for her, and maybe this next one's going to be for him. But it was so weird that they took it off him that fast. Like you said, we were there at ACW. We got to see him against Brian Myers. Nobody was officially making it a title match. So it was a non-title match because it had been signed beforehand. We understand that. And his first title defense, and he loses it to Kazarian.
Yeah.
I wish I like JB. I don't want to speculate.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
And
you hope that they're smarter than we are.
Yeah.
That's all.
It's like I really want to find the answer. Like I want to know, like why, like who did he kill? Why did they have to take it off him that fast? To where I would have been maybe more okay with it if they actually had a full 15-minute match, 10-minute match.
Yeah.
Like okay, he fought his hardest. All right. But like, I feel like it's an insult, man. It's on a roll up. Yeah. And that's what I'm like, something happened. And I feel like I don't know what it is. And then they started saying, no, he's not showing up on TNA. And now they turned it into an angle. Now I'm like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
This angle is not going to count that you still took it off him in like under 50 seconds to get it off him that quick. And, it's a shame, though, because I feel like he's on his way up and you're just going to throw this wrench in for what? Is it old wrestlers playing politics, Joe? I don't know, man.
Well, I never want anyone to be hurt, but I was hoping that he had got it hurt.
Yeah.
No, yeah,
there
was a reason, right?
Something, that he just couldn't do it. He had to drop it quick, and they don't want to say anything about it. And but then when he showed back up, that's what threw me. Live on TNA show, I couldn't believe it. I was like, okay, something's. I don't know. I guess I just gotta let it play out, right? That's what they say.
No, I do want to interrupt on this really quick though. We do have a question in the chat, Joe. We have a question for you, and it's saying, what match would you say was your most memorable or special?
Oh man, that I refereed for. I brought it up earlier. Eddie Guerrero against Fred Curry. The Rocket Fred Curry, because Flying Fred Curry's son, Wild Bull Curry's grandson. It was a hell of a match. I spent a lot of time with Eddie Guerrero that day, that night. Now, this is at this point in Eddie's career, he had been let go from the WWF at the time. I'm trying to remember now. He had been let go, and he was trying to get himself healthy, clean, sober. He was really trying hard. He was trying to reconcile with Vicky and his daughters. He was in a bad place trying to climb out. And I remember we were at it was Brockton High School, or Brockton Junior High School, Brockton High School. And he was sitting way up in the bleachers. And I didn't want to interrupt him. He looked like he was in pretty deep thought, but I had to let him know that we had to get back down inside soon, because they were about to start to get ready, and some of the fans were coming in. And when I went up there, I just kind of very nicely just asked him, excuse me, Eddie, maybe you can come down. He made me sit down with him. We sat there for 3 hours talking.
Wow.
And it was very little about wrestling. Very, very little. It was more about family. It was more about life. It was more about his mistakes. It was almost like he was confessing some of the stuff that he had done and stuff to a total stranger.
Sure.
And we sat there and he cried and held my arm and talked and got really, like intense. And then it was time to go. Like I said, it was a long time. He didn't care who was around. The people were down below. Nobody else bothered us. We were just sitting up there in a very intense moment, the two of us. We get downstairs, got changed and everything. He came up to me afterwards, gave me a big hug. He says, let's go do this. I'm going to show you how we do this. Wow. And we got out there in that ring, and my God, I still have it on VHS, which is crazy, right? I got to get that thing turned over before I lose it.
Yeah.
And after the match, he took me and Fred to the side, and he lit Fred up about a bunch of stuff, lit me up about a bunch of stuff that we didn't do right. But after what was crazy about him is he broke you down, letting you know what you needed to do. And then he completely built you back up with praising everything that you did, and then explained how to do what he wanted you to do. He left after that. And like I said, I'll never forget that match. I'll never forget that night. He wins the championship when WWE brings him back. and it's Backlash. I want to say, I can't remember what the year was. It was in the Worcester Centrum at the time. I was backstage with Dr. Tom, and he noticed me. He saw me. I was like, hey, Ralph. Hey. He came over, gave me a big, I'm like, I haven't seen him in, it's got to be 5 years. And he remembered me immediately, gave me a big hug, you know, talked about kids, talked about, it was amazing. It was amazing that you know, he's gone too soon. His anniversary just hit. I posted a picture of me and him when I raised his hand winning the match. Yeah, he was a special kind of talent, just in and out of the ring. Any one of that match, yeah, tops them all. Yeah, you know what? And then I could also say that, like, some of the most fun I've ever had in the ring was Chris Candido. That guy, he never took himself serious. Took what he did serious, but never took himself serious, and really showed me how to have fun in there and really play with the audience and have a good time. So he was, yeah, those two guys were something special. Both gone way too soon.
No, yeah, for sure. I remember seeing Chris over here at a local show years ago. It was at Dutch Stadium, and I think Sunny was actually managing too at the time. She was gone from WWE at the time, so that was a long time ago. I don't want to date myself, but I'm saying, Joe, get that book, man. We're gonna have to get you signed for a book, because you definitely have great stories, definitely from the ref's point of view and stuff. So, you know, on Santana too. Did you have anything last thing to say about this? Because I mean, it's still.
I mean, tonight there's the NXT show, so we'll see Gold Rush. We'll see if anything.
But can anything make up for this, though? I feel like it's an insult. You know, it's like no matter what they do now,
coming next,
I feel like still just losing it with no title defenses.
Next season of TNA Unreal, you'll find out what happened.
I know, right?
Yeah,
it's all for a Netflix show that they're going to show later, and it's like, come on.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think that you're going to have to see. You know, there's a lot more options for talent these days. You know, before it was WWE, WWE, and that was it. And then now there's, you know, AEW, there is TNA, I mean, working on independence, as we've seen with people like Matt Cardona and stuff, it's not necessarily a demotion. Like, you can really turn it into whatever you want to do. So, I mean, it's kind of up to, the ball might be in Santana's court. I don't know what his contract status is. I don't know what's going on. But, and again, I have to say this. That's what I love about pro wrestling right now.
Card subject to change, Jonathan, because, you know, it was quite the 24 hours for ACW, because not only did they see Santana lose the TNA title, but now we have Cardona showing up on SmackDown. And now
who's Cardona?
Zack Ryder. Zach merchandising. No, so I could see, you know, what about this, guys? Because, you know, Zack Ryder showing up. Granted, they've owned Zack Ryder. Now they're going to be able to release some more shirts or other stuff in his name and whatnot. Great deal. Perfect. Happy for the guy. That's awesome. But, you know, like I said, card subject to change. It puts other independents on the lookout for maybe something that's got to change now. But what do you think about this? Because I feel like it's almost a feeler for Matt. I'm going to say Matt Cardona. It's easy for me. It's almost a feeler for Matt Cardona. To where, how are the fans in WWE still take him? Because granted, he's been working the indies, he's the indie god, you know, to where, how is this audience accept him now? Granted, he can always go back as Matt Cardona. He was on NXT, right? And this is, I'm sure, just to sell their stuff. But, you know, the fans still loved it. He was talk on social media. I think he's definitely one of the top merch sellers after that night for that. So I'm happy for him. I'm excited to see it. But I feel like, you know, he said he wasn't signed or anything. So this is like a one-off, but maybe we could see a Rumble spot, guys. What do you think on this? I'm happy to see him go back to WWE, and hopefully they sign him in 2026.
Yeah, I really like
after the Poughkeepsie Rumble.
After the Rumble, yes.
Yeah,
yeah.
I really like this new kind of, and obviously this has come from probably the Triple H era. This idea of more of an open door policy, like, you know, again, last night the pop when Ziggler came out. And, you know, that's got to be...
Dolph Ziggler, not Nick Nemeth.
Yes.
So I see more, you know, they want to sell some shirts.
Like, I don't know, you know, basically, as a talent, you don't know... He was at the big event. He had a huge line. Every time that, you know, anybody was... I walked by there, he had a line. He was talking to people and stuff. But, you know, what's crazy is that told me that people, because it's not just the people that are around our age that pop for him, that the whole garden pop for him. And again, crazy enough, I was at the Meadowlands, the Raw after Mania 29 when he cashed in, and the roof blew off. The roof blew off that place.
And he was
too.
a heel.
Oh yeah, and he was a heel. So I mean, I think this continues to add value to not only WWE but also these people, because they can kind of get reinvigorated. Let's be honest, the time that Zack Ryder and Dolph Ziggler have been out of WWE, a whole new fan base has come in. So, those people maybe don't know Dolph and Zack. Maybe they know the Indie God, and maybe they know the Wanted Man. But I think this is just a way of getting more out of talent and letting them kind of reinvent themselves and come back.
Well, Joe, too. I mean, for the indies, my girls just know them from ACW because that's where they saw him lately.
Right.
They don't. Yeah. They weren't old enough, or if they were, they didn't see him at their prime. Not their prime, but at their height of their career when they were still in WWE. So it's funny saying that because it's our generation. We've seen him grow through the years. But now my girls, they're like, hey, he was on ACW. Why are we seeing him on TV? So that's a cool perspective to see from the younger fans' point of view to now, because we have that kind of reversal for our things. But what did you think about this, Joe? To where seeing Dolph, Nick, and Matt and Zach debuting this week, you think it's just maybe feeling the air, feeling the room, see if they could be brought back?
You know what? The two of them were amazing talents for WWE. They could always count on them. They always did whatever needed to be done. If you were going to pick anybody to come in and work a match that was going to get huge pop and was going to get an amazing outcome, those are your guys. They just didn't have anything for them creative. I can get that. All right. And look what the two of them have done on the indies and in TNA. And I mean, Cardona's worked for every single promotion out there, I think, this last year. Yeah. Everyone from TNA to AEW to NXT now, right? And he's run the gamut this year. Everybody knows him. He said he's made more money, on his own. And he was laughing, talking about, another T-shirt. That just means that the fanny pack's getting filled again. Yep. So, and that's all he cares about. And, and Nick, I mean, God bless him. Ziggler, let him do. I mean, that guy is still top-notch, probably one of the most fit men on the planet. That guy cannot have a bad match. He just can't. Yeah. So it would only make, again, you know what? I don't want to see them go back there unless it makes sense. I want them to have a story. I want there to be a reason. I don't want it to just be a pop, a one-off. Look what they did with Truth. They brought Truth back. He had a little, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then he's right back doing what he was doing. He's back at catering again. It's not fair, and it's not right. I mean, hey, the paycheck's good, but, I think Ziggler or Nick there loves what he's doing in TNA. He seems to really enjoy having the creative ability to do what he wants to do with it, and, more power to him. And plus, you know what? We get to see him on the indies too, which is good because, for guys like us that are working a lot of those indies and there to help out and do whatever we do with them, we have access to those guys. So you can get them on your show. We don't have to go through the office to get them. You know what I mean? Yeah. I can get them on my show. Same thing. So, selfishly, we have more access to them as fans and as media for us.
So I want to just talk real quick about the kind of some of the other things that happened during Raw. Obviously, a lot of story being told about this WarGames match. So, you have some people that are complaining that this match is pretty much the same. You just took, Sammy out of it, and you've got now Cody, Roman, Punk, and the Usos. But again, last night, if you look at those 10 people that came out, not one of those people are not on top of their game right now. Yeah. Could you mix people around? Yeah, but is it going to have the same impact? I don't think so. So this Saturday is the Survivor Series, San Diego. It's going to be amazing. There's a lot of matches that came up. We now know that it's going to be Cena versus Dom. We saw that there's the WarGames match. There's the women's WarGames match that's shaping up. But did either of you feel like that the logical step for last night was, bringing in Lesnar, bringing in all these people to the Vision? Like, do you feel like it's good? Do you feel like where do we go from here after this WarGames match?
Real quick, I've liked what Survivor Series has turned into the past few years of WarGames, because over the past few years, to me, growing up, it was always the traditional teams. I loved it, the Hulkamaniacs, the Ultimate Warriors, whatever. Everybody had their team, and then it kind of like went to Raw versus SmackDown, and then it kind of like then it only became one Survivor Series match. So they kind of been slipping, being their fourth biggest pay-per-view of the year, to where it didn't feel like the same, right? Like, I would have loved if there was just teams all night and whatnot. They all dressed like each other. All right, WarGames brings that aspect where it kind of just like reinvigorated Survivor Series, right? It gave them something else to do besides these teams, and they're kind of growing with it. This is definitely something to look forward to each year, right? With what they're doing. So I think since it's the last big pay-per-view, the big four, it's one of the big four OGs, if you want to call it. Having the biggest names in wrestling have to be in these matches, right? This is it. Like, you have to make this WarGames a war with the top of the names, and then hopefully that will start to give us an idea of what WrestleMania is going to be like this year, because you kind of start seeing maybe who's going to go towards who, or how they're going to start shaping things up, if you will, towards the Rumble into WrestleMania season. So I don't know. I think what they're doing is great. I have no problem with it. The biggest names, when you have Punk looking at Lesnar in the ring and you have Cody over the shoulder behind him, Cody kind of looks like the younger duckling in there, to where like just everybody's star power outpowers everybody else, and I'm ready for it, man. This is what I wanted to see. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, this is an all-star team they put together. That's what I love about it. This is the way it should be. This is WarGames. You wanted the best of the best, and you bring out all your guns at this point. You fire them all at the same time. I think this is just all-star power. And it just reminds me of what just happened at the last ACW show that we just had at Mischief Night. Look at the star power in the main event we had there for an independent show. You had Ziggler, right? Nick Nemeth. You had Matt Cardona, right? All right, those two right there. You had Matt Riddle, and then you had Richard Holiday. Think of just what the star power on an independent show was right there. So why wouldn't you, as the WWE, the cream of the crop, the biggest and best in the world right now, why wouldn't you pull out all the stops for WarGames? You heard Paul Heyman with his repertoire of the teams that he has been with. Everyone from the Freebirds to the Dangerous Alliance to the Bloodline and now the Vision. I mean, this man has more experience with WarGames than anybody on the planet right now. Yeah. And now you've got, his team versus an all-star team of Cody, the Usos, Punk, and Roman. I mean, take my money. Yeah. I think it's going to be spectacular, and the women's is really shaping up. I'm dying to see what they're going to do after what just happened with Blood and Guts over at AEW.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely a wild ride, and even last night, to where I want to talk about this briefly too, to where we have a new women's Intercontinental champion, and I want to kind of talk about this a little bit, because I know there's probably going to be haters out there. But Maxine Dupree, when she started out, was just supposed to be like a manager. Found her way into the wrestling business. They started training her, and I feel like some people probably called her out on socials, or something happened to where, it just made it. I feel like it lit a fire in her, to where I'm not saying she's the greatest wrestler in the world. I'm saying the Intercontinental Championship, I think, was rightfully placed on her to show the hard work put into what she's trying to do, or what she's doing, not trying to do, but, where if you look back at her a few years ago, to where she was, it was supposed to be like manager for LA Knight. They changed his name, right? And so then
Maximum
she's
male model.
Yeah. So, I mean, she's kind of found her way into the women's wrestling, definitely working her way up. Granted, she hasn't been doing this for 10 years. Like, she's getting out there, and I feel like giving her the Intercontinental Championship for the women's division last night, it was a great moment. I feel like it just helps. It's going to fuel her even more into her career. And a shout out to her because there's haters online. They're gonna be like, oh, she's not a Becky Lynch or whatever. No, she's not, but she probably could be now, especially with the wave she's riding. So, what are you guys' thoughts on Maxine Dupree? You guys probably have different takes on it, but I'm kind of curious because I'm actually excited about this title change. I think it was a big moment, and it was rightfully deserved, especially with all the work she's putting into it.
Yeah, definitely. She has been putting the work in. She's been working with Natty Neidhart up at her dungeon for a long time now. And Natty, the beginning, if you hear her talk about it, she was like, nah, she's not gonna last. So we'll put her through the grind. And the girl didn't quit, and she kept coming back for more. And she really wants it. And look at this is the same thing that happened with Stacy Keibler. This is the same thing that happened with Trish Stratus. Now, I'm not saying that Maxine Dupree is on the same trajectory as them, but she could be, because you're only going to get better with the more reps you get and things like this. So she's come miles ahead of where she was, and the crowd's behind her. And I think it was the right time. I think it was the right place, and definitely the right title, because the story there is Becky and AJ Lee. That's the real story. So we need to get that title away from her, put it on somebody that is well earned and deserved it at this point. And I think Maxine was the right person. I think she's they're gonna have a lot of fun with her. I think she's the future, definitely.
Yeah, I posted on my personal Facebook, but she was a former Los Angeles Rams cheerleader before she got into the business, and I'm a huge Rams fan, so obviously that makes me happy. But yeah, I mean, I was at some of those house shows whenever she was starting out. They were transitioning her from manager to wrestler, and again, just like anybody else, they weren't great. But you also have to realize that the wrestling that you started watching, the wrestling that I started watching, you started watching, there were house shows. There were a lot of things that were nowadays. WWE they've all but eliminated house shows, so you can't get those reps that you would. So it's pretty much pushing someone straight into the deep end. And I mean, now they have NXT and everything, but Maxine was kind of in that middle area where she really wasn't in NXT for that long, and then all of a sudden she's thrust onto WWE. But I totally agree, Joe. I think that this is the right time for her, and I think it looks good for any talent anywhere who has aspirations of going into WWE. They can look and say, like, wow, there's a Cinderella story here. There's this person who, got a lot of hate online, and it just shows if you persevere, if you keep doing it, that you can really do anything. And I think that's a great model for people to see, hey, Maxine may be in some circles, the loud minority is not going to dictate what the majority wants to see. And that was a great moment last night. And then we found out that Rhea pulled AJ Lee away, and I mean, there's some stakes, there's some speculation maybe that she's going to be on that women's WarGame match. So I'm pretty pumped about that too.
No, yeah, I think it's great, real quick, with the IC championship, to where it's great that they have secondary titles for the women now, because there's only so many girls that can go for the women's championship, and a lot of the other girls are just sitting there. That's why they have women's tag team championships too, because there's just a lot of things that they weren't doing. And having the secondary title, I feel like, is a good step for a lot of these women out there to fight for something, right? Like, they need to be doing other stuff besides, there's, like I said, there's only so many stories you could tell to get to the women's championship. So definitely, man, this Raw was like a pay-per-view last night, pretty much. You even had the return of Gunther. He's been out for a few weeks, but he also fought a guy from NXT. Maybe Jonathan, you can tell us a little bit more about being there. But what was that like? Did he have a good reception coming back, Gunther? And what do we see him doing maybe the next few months?
I'll tell you, there was a good reception for him, but it was a little confusing because his music went back to Walter's music. Yeah. So everybody was waiting for that, the symphony, and then it's like Gunther, and it didn't happen. So everyone was kind of like, that's odd. And then it just kept going. But that match with Javon Evans again shows you the level of wrestler that Gunther is. It also shows you the level of wrestler that Javon is. I mean, they put on as good a match as any, and I think that I'm not a big fan. I'm just going to be honest. I'm not a big fan of Gunther being the one to retire Cena, because He just retired Goldberg. I mean, I don't know if I know everyone has a short memory, but that just happened. So having him be unless they're like, we're just gonna throw everybody who's wanting to retire at Gunther, and he's gonna be like the new legend killer or what, legend retirer or whatever. But I think that just what Cena has done for Dom and raising the level of Dom, I would love to see a couple matches of Javon and Gunther going back and forth. I really think that would be something. And then, Gunther's a made man at this point. Like, he can go in and out of any title picture as he wants. He's legitimate. And so, yeah, it was great. I was in an area, if you've been in the Garden, there's really not a bad seat, like, no matter what. It's much... I think, honestly, it's a big arena, but it's much smaller than what you think. Like, a lot of us now have been to big football stadiums that just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So, like, my knees were in my chest. I'm not a huge guy, but, like, they were in my chest. But anyway, I was on the middle bowl of the Garden, and I heard and felt every one of those chops from Javon and Gunther, and it was just it was an incredible match, and I really love, and I don't know if it's just because Cena has taken an interest in it right now or not, but I really love this focus on giving younger people this chance and saying, hey, like, it's anybody's game right now, and we haven't really talked about it that much, but I think SmackDown right now is having a little bit of an identity crisis, and I think that this is a way to bring up some of these new people and say, listen, there you go, like, go over there and make the show better. So I'm hoping that Javon, maybe, I don't know what he's got going on in NXT right now, but I mean, I'd be happy with a quick call up for him for sure. But yeah, it was a great match, and the crowd was really into, obviously, the whole night. So
yeah, what are your thoughts, Joe, on Gunther? Because you're a Von Erich fan. He kind of reminds me of a guy that would probably be in wrestling with the Von Erichs back then, to where he's got that old school mentality look to him. What do you think about Gunther coming back?
I love the fact that he's back. He looked great. He didn't miss a beat. I don't think he's going to be the one to go after Cena. I think we're looking at a build up to WrestleMania with him and Lesnar. That's what I think is going to happen. I have a feeling we're going to have Joe Hendry somewhere in this mix, and he'll be the one that'll take Cena on at the end. That's been my pick since the beginning, and I just have a feeling. Now, I'm not saying that Hendry's going to win. I'm just saying that he put it out to the universe that he wanted to fight John Cena before he retired. And so far, he's manifested everything that he's been trying to do. And at the same time, Gunther said the same thing a couple of years ago about wanting Lesnar. And now we got Lesnar back. The stars are starting to align. And I would love to see how this all plays out. It would be, I think, Gunther and Lesnar. I don't care who wins. It wouldn't matter to me. I don't think it would matter to the fans either. I think we're the ones that would win. Yeah. But I'm going to tell you, there's going to be some bleeding in the chests from both those guys, and someone's getting dropped in the head about 70 times. So, yeah.
No, so
it's that.
No, yeah, for sure, 100%. Jonathan, we did look up some stuff, though, real quick. There were some. Do you think we know who might be Cena's final opponent from what we have with the brackets? Because we had the mystery guys, but the mystery guys were Zack Ryder, Dolph Ziggler. Yep. What are some of the other names that they've been saying that they're in this first round or whatnot?
Well, I mean, we know that LA Knight is going to go against Jey Uso. I mean, they both won their first matches. We know that Rusev's going to take on Sheamus, so that'll be another crazy match. But
they haven't announced that yet, though. That's the thing. They haven't announced the brackets. They've just said that they've advanced. This is where I think they're going to get us, is that they haven't officially, because you see when they do the tournaments, they've always shown the brackets.
Yeah,
they've always shown how they didn't do it this time, and I think that's by design. I think they're going to mix them up a little bit, and so that we don't know.
Yeah. I mean, regardless, there's still a lot of great talent. Obviously, we've got on SmackDown, I believe, this week, it's Carmelo versus Bronson Reed and Penta versus Finn. So out of those four, I don't really see like a front runner. I don't know. That's what's great about this, is just like, I I don't know that. I think obviously we heard that Cena's last night, the Saturday night's main event, is going to be centered around like NXT versus some of the main roster people. So I think that we're going to have to get someone who's a relative unknown, for his last match, because it doesn't really make sense for it to be a Rusev, an LA Knight, a Sheamus. I don't know. Unless
could be a mystery up to the last minute, just get everybody watching that night. So,
right.
And it's like, maybe they don't even know yet. Maybe they're still trying to figure out what they want to happen, because I know it's only a few weeks away. But we do have another question in the chat before we let you go, though. We have, what do you think of TKO cutting back on PLEs from the Vince era? They mentioned the other day that they probably want to get rid of some names and change it. Not WrestleMania, of course, but like maybe there's some other names that we had this year. I don't have the list in front of me, but do you think, is there a bad one that maybe sticks out? You're like, they should totally get rid of that and just come up with a new name kind of thing, or a new concept? Is there anything that sticks out for both of you?
I mean, for me, I would honestly, for me, it doesn't make sense to have WarGames and Elimination Chamber.
Yeah.
Because they feel reminiscent of one another.
Sure.
They're both like Cage-esque, so I would do away with something like that. Or again, Money in the Bank, I think with having 2 nights of WrestleMania, you could almost throw like a Money in the Bank match in.
I love that when it was a match too. It didn't need to be a pay-per-view.
And because again, you're only doing 2 things. Or you could pepper it throughout the year. You could say it's a Money in the Bank-esque match, and it could be for the United States Championship. It could be for the Intercontinental Championship. There's, I would start there, and then I would also, it's not a Vince era pay-per-view, but the whole, I know they did well with it, but WrestlePalooza,
sounds like an ECW. That's an ECW pay-per-view.
Yeah,
I'm
fine with that name going away.
They mentioned that, so I don't know. What do you think, Joe? Because somebody was saying about taking some of those names away, and then people were like, they better not touch WrestleMania, but they're not touching WrestleMania. But
no,
I don't think they'll touch it. They better not anyway. But I think the WrestlePalooza, I think they're actually thinking of keeping. I think they like that because that was their era.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see like the Armageddon and those type of in between. Like you said, I think Money in the Bank should just be an event, not a pay-per-view. I think Elimination Chamber, now that you have WarGames official, I think I'd get rid of the Chamber, because that was kind of brought in as their version of what they would consider WarGames. I do like the concept of having the pods, but I mean, I think that's kind of cool. You don't know who's going to come in, and it always brings a different element to it. But it doesn't need to be an actual, pay-per-view or PLE.
Yeah. Well, I can't take your trademark, the fastest 2 hours in radio. We're not radio, in podcasting tonight, Joe, man. But tell everybody out there listening maybe where they can watch or listen to your show this week and whatnot, and how can they follow you if they're, especially from the Boston area or anywhere in the world.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So it's the Final Countdown with Joe and Nick Mattarazzo. We're on WMEXBoston.com. That's that you can it's streamed everywhere live every Wednesday night from 6 to 8 p.m. So we're on just before AEW. You can pick us up on all podcast platforms, everything from Apple, Spotify. We're on them all. All of our old shows are up there since day one. This week we're actually preempting. Because we're going to be at AEW, which is in Boston.
Awesome.
We got called to go to that, so we'll be at that following that.
Nice.
So the following week, we'll be talking about and covering that for that show. We've got some big guests lined up to be coming in, too. It's nice having the 2 hours, you guys know, to bring somebody in and have them on as long as you can. It's a lot of fun. And and then you can find me on the socials. You just look up the Final Countdown. You'll find us on Instagram. My name, Joe Mattarazzo. You'll see me there too. So and that's how you can keep following us and stay up with it. And countdownjoe@gmail.com if you need to get in touch with me, and countdownnick@gmail.com if you want to get in touch with him.
Perfect.
So
yeah, it's perfect. We'll be coming to Boston soon. We'll be crashing on the couch, so you'll be having another wrestling podcast staying over with the final countdown.
Absolutely.
We'll get one big show going one night. So, Joe, man, thank you so much. We appreciate your time. We'll have you back definitely on future shows. But guys, this is a wrap for us. We'll be here next week. We don't know what we're gonna do yet, but we'll be talking wrestling pretty much.
You know it. Absolutely.
Thanks again, Joe.
thank
we
you
appreciate
guys so much. This has been a treat.
Great.
Thank you.
Awesome, man. Let's get to it. Now we're gonna have another big week. How do we top that one?
I don't know.
That's it,
I'm
guys.
sure something will come up.
I know. All right. Well, stay tuned. Follow us, like us, subscribe. BeaconPodcasting.com. Check them out.